Hello, welcome to my channel and welcome to my website. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. The website is www.black-duck.com. It's where you'll find all my videos organized in logical order. The IndexOf method returns the position of the substring you are searching for. That position is returned as an integer to your application. Once you have the integer, you are in a position to use other methods to modify your string. You might remove the contents from a string. You might insert contents into a string. IndexOf comes with two optional parameters. Starts allows you to specify where in the string you would like to begin your search. Count gives you the means to limit the search to a specific number of positions. The following video shows you how to set this up and use the two parameters. I follow this up with a practical example of how you might format a column of numbers so they align under a decimal point no matter how large or how small those numbers are. Here's how. We're going to start looking at the next method. It's going to be the IndexOf method. And it's a method that has quite a number of varieties of how you can actually use it. And we're going to look at the basic one. What you're seeing on the screen right now is the IndexOf method without any parameters on it. What it does, you take a string that you want to search and add a substring to it and tell that substring to go out there. And what it returns is where that substring exists, where in position it is in the major string. That's what we're actually looking at. So it returns a number is basically what it does. Why is this good? Well, it opens the door for other methods that you can use. Inserts, removes, things of that nature. So we'll be seeing all that down the road. But we're going to see how this thing can be used right now. The string var IndexOf method, you put the substring in here and you have the basic string right here. You can also use characters. You can work on it that way. And if we look at a possible use of this thing, we can take the position of the quick brown fox jumps over lazy dog's back, look for jumps in here, and if we're just looking for it, it'll give us the position of where it actually pops up, and that's in position 20 right here. Now, I've got other buttons configured here, so we can take a look at this thing in action in a bit. If we look at the code for this thing, you're bringing in the string and the substring, and you've got a variable for in position. This is going to be where the substring is located. So you're going to need that. Then you basically say in position is equal to string input string IndexOf and the substring. It'll find it and it'll return the position it's actually in. If it doesn't find it, you get a -1. You also have the IndexOf start method where they're adding the start parameter to this thing. Now, what this means is you still have your initial string, the string you're searching, and you've got your substring, but you also start the starting position of where you want to start searching for that substring. It doesn't have to be at the beginning of the main string. It could be somewhere in it. This is useful in loops where you're looking for several iterations of your string, of your substring in a particular passage, like the word "the" in a paragraph. It might occur a bunch of times. You want to find out where they all are and change it to that. You can do that, just like that. So again, you end up putting the substring in there along with the starting position, where you want to start. Position 10, position 20, whatever. Same thing with character. You can use that. Look something like this. If we're looking for jumps in our substring right here, we're telling it to start at position 25. Well, we already know a jump starts in position 20. So if we start at 25, we're starting at the space just before over here and going forward, and we're not finding anything. So we get a -1 in this case. So it's looking forward this way. Now, it looks like this. Again, the two strings are bringing in. You've got your integer for the in position to find out where it is. And then you have the in start is going to be equal to in parse. You're actually parsing the position when you bring it in. You've got to do that because you're bringing in a number. And then you take that in position input string, IndexOf substring, with the starting position, starting integer sitting right here. This puts that 25 in there, allows you to go forward. And you end up with a result in position. The substring in start count method does the same thing as start, except it limits how far forward you're going to look. So you're basically looking at your full string again. You're telling it to find this substring in there, starting at a certain position, but only go out so many characters. 10, 15, 20, it's up to you how many you want. Same thing with character. You can do it that way as well. You can see it here where we're looking for jumps again in the string. And we're starting position 15, which is actually before this. I think it's a space before the fox here. And we're counting 10 forward. So we look forward here. It's only going to look at FOX space GUMPS period. It's going to look at just these pieces right here. And it's going to give you an answer. And it found it in position 20. So it does give you that count. And again, this same thing, inputs coming in, you've got an integer, that's you're going to be result. You've got a starting and a count integer as well that you're going to have to parse these things and bring them in from your form. And then, of course, your input position is string input, index of substring, int start, int count, period. If we take that particular application, enter string or substring, it's all built for you here. I just haven't put any code inside the strings themselves, so we're going to see how that actually works here. But if we look at the code of this thing, we've got all these variables here. We've got a text which is called text input string. We've got the text substring here. We've got a position here, a text txt start it's called, and txt count. So that's why you're going to put in your starting position and your count position. This guy right here is a button that's called button index of. It's only going to use these two variables, and it's going to place it in label index of. The button index of start is going to use the start button. So it's not going to use this particular piece right here, and it's going to give us an answer, label index of start. And this one is a full ball of wax here. It's got the substring, the count, and the start, and it's going to use both these guys, and it's going to end up putting label index of start count is going to get put in here. So what does that code look like right now? What we've got in here is we've got the input string in the global area. We've got the start and the count here. So the variables are already set as a global into this. And all we have in the rest of this code right here is basically a clear, which is going to clear the index of start text, and it clears all those labels. Other than that, we have three: the index of start, count. All we have to do is code these guys. So if we go back to this, we like to code this string var index of substring. Take this, search for this in it. So we double click on this guy, it opens that guy up right here, and it's exactly what we put in. We put in the str input string is going to be equal to txt input string dot text, and str substring is going to be equal to text substring. And we're going to have an imposition because we need to put it someplace. It's going to be equal to int position, and we'll put a period in there. That's going to be the position we're going to be looking for. I'm going to knock it down a step here. We're going to say int position is going to be equal to str input string. I got input sting here. I do have input sting here, and that's exactly how I spelled it up here. Let's fix this. Put an R in there. Give ourselves some errors here. Input string. And okay, now we're going to do this. In position is going to be equal to str input string index of string substring. And that's all we're looking for. Then we want to take that label and put it out. So we'll put an int or label index of dot text is equal to int position to string. We need to bring it back to string so we can actually see it and make it go. And that's going to work for us. So let's run it. Save all. Run. There's our program. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog's back. We're going to look for jumps. And do we find it? Yes, we do in position 20. That's super. Okay. We were looking for rabbit. It's a -1. It doesn't find anything in there. So that's what you end up getting if you don't find it. Let's go back. Let's code the other ones here as long as we're in this thing. Let's code the string of using the start position in here. So we're going to go ahead and pop this in. We can use all the basic same stuff we've got right here. And in fact, we can grab all this. We'll just make some modifications and add a line. So Control C, pop this in here. We're going to definitely use index of substring comma start. That's going to go in here. Int start is equal to int.parse txt start dot text. So it's going to bring in that start position. Obviously, I don't have any error checking in here. We have to do with the parse. If we type in an A or something like that, it's going to screw this thing up. But I don't want to clutter this with a bunch of error positions. I just want to see the basics of what happens here. So the start's in here. Now we can actually use that here. So we're going to use the substring, and we're going to have, say, comma, int start. And then we're going to actually put out int position. We're going to label of start is going to be the in position. And that's going to pop that thing in there. So that's all you need there. We can do the same thing right away with the start count. We'll go ahead and code that right away. And we'll take this, because everything we use here is going to be used down there with slight modification. And for we're going to need an int count. So we'll add the int count right here is equal to int.parse txt count. Text. That brings that in here. Now we can change our int start, add the comma int count to it, so we know how far out to go. And then our end result is going to be int start count, I believe we call the label. And that's all we have there. So now all three are viable and working. So save all, start. We'll pop in the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog's back, and put in jumps again. This time we'll put in a starting position of 20, and we'll give it a count of 10. If we take a look at the string var, which simply is looking at these two, it's going to find it. It's going to find it in position 20. If we're looking at the starting position, we look at starting position 20, and it finds it as well. The string var with a count, it finds it as well. Now let's do something a little different. Let's just make this 25. Let's clear all these labels and look at it now. This time it still finds it because it's only looking at the entire string here. It doesn't looking at the start or the count. But the starting position doesn't find it because it started in position 25. It can't find it. How about the substring with a count? It can't find it either. Now let's go back to, let's make this 15 and clear it and try it. Still finds it. This still finds it. Then this one still finds it. But if we only go out 5, finds it, does not find it. It's only counting 5 forward, because starting at position 15, we're only going 5. It does not find the word jumps. So that's how this thing works. But let's try and put up a practical example in order for this thing in order to actually see what's going to be going on here. What I've done is I've created a text file with some dollars in it, some money. And you can see they're all different lengths. We've got 98 cents, we got $1.49, 2,113, 4 million, 49. Decimal places are all in different spots is what we actually got here. If we try to run this program normally, we can run it unformatted. We're going to read it in using the same program we use for our movie list, except we've changed where we're actually going to bring in money this time. And we're going to take that, once we've got it in a list, we're going to take it and put it into a list box. By adding it to a list box, it comes out just like this. However, if we format it by using the IndexOf to find out where the decimal place is, we can pad this with a certain number of blanks. So if we look at that, we can go down here and actually find out that it's padded. And now it puts the blanks in front of it, so now it's aligned by decimal place. Now, this is only going to work if you use fonts that are monospaced. In other words, equal. The space is as big as a 1, which is as big as a W, or whatever. They're all the same size. That'll work fine. If you use another kind of font, most of the fonts in your file, they're all different sizes, so it's not going to work well. So you'll see that problem. Let's take a look and see how this thing works. If you take a look at our program, we've got the LBX money here. And notice I have a different font in there. I've actually converted this thing so it does have a monospaced. I think it's Courier New. Yeah, Courier is going to be a monospaced font, so you can use that thing. The other ones are going to be, whatever I had here is sans serif, as I'm using for the rest of these things. But otherwise, the Courier is going to be our money thing right here. We have, this is nothing more than a title. We have 2 buttons here, and we've got to clear it on exit. I'm not even sure I'm using the clear button. In the code, if we look at it very closely, we've got LST dollars. So we have a dollars list sitting out here. It's gonna. In fact, it says hold all movies. It's not holding all movies. It's holding all money. Let's change that to money real quickly. And holds money count. So I know how many I've actually got here. So we have int dollar count is what this is called. So it's going to tell us how much currency we have involved. And that's all it does. We have an exit button that does this. We have a form load It's virtually unchanged from the thing we've been using for all these other methods so far. It simply reads a file, uses the dialog open file, so we can basically name any file we want and bring it in. I do use a try catch just in case there's an error with the file. Other than that, if I load in movies here, it's not going to do a very good job on counting money or using decimal places. But if I go to the right money file that I've created, it's going to read it, put it in a list. So we end up with a list of these dollars and cents in it. Now, what do we want to do? There's nothing else in this code. There's a little bit of a clear button here. Yeah, we do have a clear button there, but that's it. But we have unformatted, and we've got a formatted click event right here. We're going to take the unformatted click event and code it. So we'll go to it right away. And the only thing we need to do is basically put a loop in here. So we're going to say for int I equals 0. I is less than, it's got the right idea, but not the one object I want. Int dollar count is what I want, dollar count. And then we're going to increment I, plus plus. And then we're going to lay our brace in there. So we've got a loop that's going to go through our list for us. And all we're going to do here is say LBX money, that's our list, dot items, dot add, no, dot clear. We're going to clear it first. And that's going to clear our list box so nothing's in case we run it twice or a bunch of times. That should actually, this should go up on top. Control X, that should be the first thing we do is clear that list box. Then we do our loop. Then our loop is going to be LBX money dot items dot add. And what's it going to add? It's going to add LST dollars dot I. And that's all. We'll run it, file save all, start. Whoop, we got build errors. No, it's our build error. Oh, semicolon expected. Okay, in line 1000. Oh, really? That's strange. Invalid expression term. Okay, we got some problems here. What did I do wrong? Let's find out. Let's find out what we got here. Here it is. Let's see. Int dollars count. Input dollars is less than input dollars. This will be a semicolon here, and we'll go forward. Okay. And now let's give it a shot and see if it works. File save all. Do a start. And there's our money. We're going to bring that thing up. And where's our program? There it is. We'll do our list. And bang, it does bring in those dollar amounts and it does place them here. Now we're going to try and do, we'll hit the exit button here. Let's go ahead and code that formatted piece. This is going to be a little bit different. And here we're going to actually do the same thing. We're going to clear it. So we'll bring in that to clear our list box. And then we're going to have a couple strings here. We're going to say string str input. And this is going to hold input. Then we're going to have a string str output, and it's going to be formatted output. And what's that going to do? Well, we're going to have an int position, because we're going to need that for our search. And this is going to be our decimal place position. Then we're going to have our loop. For int I is equal to 0, semicolon. I is less than int dollar count and I plus plus and our braces. So we have our loop sitting right in here. Now we're going to say str for our loop. We're going to say str input is equal to LST dollars dot I. And that's all we need. It's going to bring in our first item in our list. Then we're going to say int position is going to be equal to str input dot index of, and we're going to say we need our decimal point. CHR decimal point, and then end it with a semicolon. Bang. CHR decimal point, we don't have that defined. We need to actually define this someplace, so we'll define it up here. Int decimal place. Int, no, character, CHAR decimal point is equal to, and then in the quotes, period, quote, semicolon. That's going to put our decimal place in there, so that gives us our character. That should take away our error. Now we're looking for that particular thing. So if we find it, we'll know where the decimal place is in the position of our string. Once we've got that in place, we can say our str output is equal to quote space quote. And then we're going to say for int j equals in position, comma, j is equal to or is less than 20, j plus plus. So in other words, we're going to use another loop here, and we're going to set it up with j being 0 initially, or starting with the position it finds the decimal place in. And then we're going to loop through until we reach 20. So it's going to, if the decimal place is in position 5, it's going to start with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Add those spaces in here, and we're going to actually say str output is equal to str output, which we know is a space initially, plus a space. So it's going to keep on adding a space to. So it's going to add a certain number of spaces to this concatenation in str output. When that's done, we've got a certain number of spaces added at the beginning. Now we're going to say str output is equal to str output plus str input. This is where we add the input string and put it in there. And now we can list it out. lbx money dot items dot add, and we're adding str out put, and that's it. Now let's go ahead and do a file save and do a run. Take our money file, find our program, it's sitting right over here. Remember, we've already read it in, so dollars have been loaded. We do the unformatted, it looks like this. We want to see it formatted, click this. And notice the spaces that are put in front of this thing. So it did that concatenation, putting a lot more space in front of this one than it did with the 4 million one. Didn't need as many. And as long as we have the constant mono spacing on here, it's going to come out just fine. Again, unformatted, formatted. That's what it does. So this shows the importance of using an index of and finding the position of the decimal place. You can then calculate how many spaces you need in front of your money in order to make them align by decimal place and look nicely set up in a column. That's really it. Most fonts are not monospaced. Therefore, that application you just watched would not work well with this concept. However, the point here was to show you that once you have the position of the substring, you have the ability to modify the data. And we'll do a lot of that in the application section and in other programs we develop. Next is last index of. It is identical to index of except that it searches from right to left. Seeing how you use the start and count parameters with last index of will help your understanding of this next method. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to use the website for easy access to all my videos. And if you get a chance, please subscribe. That way, you'll be notified when something new is available. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.